Hey y'all, once again, welcome to the blending mode class at Hummy's World. And we are going through the blending modes in order and observing what they do, getting a texture to download, and everyone playing with the same texture to learn about that blending mode. And we get to see each other's samples and have a lot of fun. This lesson is on the screen blending mode, and the screen blending mode inverts both layers, multiplies them. Remember, we said this is all about the math. So it inverts both layers. In other words, it makes the blacks into whites, or if you've got some colors in there, it makes it go to the color opposite on the color wheel. A yellow would turn into a blue. So it inverts both layers, and it takes the numbers of those and multiplies them, and then it inverts them again. And that's complicated math, and I'm not going to go into all of that. So just trust Adobe. That's what they do. And note that it always lightens. Some of my text here is off the screen. Just remember, it is always lighter. Screen is one of those blending modes that is most used. It is opposite of the multiply blending mode in a way. Not directly opposite, but it's used in an opposite way. The multiply blending mode fixes photos that are overexposed, and the screen blending mode fixes photos that are underexposed. So if you have an underexposed photo, a photo that's too dark, and you have the perfect kind of texture, the texture we're going to use has a lot of texture to it. It's not kind of the perfect one for fixing a photo, but you can even just duplicate the same photo and apply the screen blending mode to it, and it's going to lighten your image. And so screen is one of my more favorite ones that I use more than any of the other ones. And so let's just take a look at what it does. Here is our graphic that we are using in all of these to kind of see what the difference is that they do. And we're going to change it to the screen blending mode. And you're going to see it almost lightens everything. Now, anything that was pure black, there was no change to it. But you can see almost from the white all the way down, especially down in here, there is some sort of change. And so that's awesome. That's why it's great for fixing those underexposed images, making everything lighter, and it's just yummy. That's the best way to say it. It just works so well. And so I'm going to guess you might have some huge success with the screen blending mode when you're playing with it. And here is my layout that I did. And I ended up with a photo of the ocean that we took from the Nepali coast in Hawaii. And then I found a saying that works with an ocean. And then I applied our texture. And let's look at our texture in a normal blending mode. So this is the texture you're going to get. I absolutely love it. It's kind of one of my more favorite textures that I made. When I made it, I glued down all of these wires randomly, and you can actually see a circle in here. When the whole thing was drying, the cardboard was curling from the wire, and so I stuck a cup on the top as it was drying, and when I picked up the cup, it had made this really cool circular thing in here. So As you'll remember, anything that's black in here is kind of going to not change the color of your photo at all, but anything white is going to really show up as white. And so there's not a whole lot of in between on this. When you zoom in, you're going to see there's a lot of white on the white and black on the wire textures. And so when we change that to screen, um, just all that yumminess shows up. Even this, you know, crusty, I don't know I don't know what I did, and I'd like to do it again, but I sprayed this on here, and then as it dried, it got crusty and cracked and split, and I don't know. You know, I just play when that's how I get these textures. But then it, you know, it just made for this yumminess. Now, if you want, if it's too yummy for your photo, maybe your photo is really dark and then it really shows up too much. Remember, you can change it with the blending mode or the opacity, um, and change it and make it more subtle. Maybe this is where you want to be. That's still just as cool, but I like this texture. So when I applied the text, you can see I kept above the texture or below it, because you know below it it's going to um, take on some of the texture from the texture file too. And so I ended up with it below it, but I thought it was kind of hard to read. And so I played around, and I have an inner shadow and a stroke, but I want to show you what I did with the stroke. And the stroke is actually got a darken blending mode. So if you remember, that almost does opposite of what the lighten does. I guess I could have done multiply. Multiply kind of looks the exact same thing. Multiply being kind of opposite of the screen that we're working with. And so it is actually, the stroke is actually blending in opposite of what the rest of it is, so that it just gives that kind of yummy blended in look, but it makes it easier to read. Anytime you have text that's hard to read, if you use a light text with a dark border, or if you use a dark text with a light border, so you have some of both, it's going to make the text more readable. So I'm really excited to see what you do with this texture, and because it's going to react different with different photos, of course, um, and how you play with it, and what you come up with for this screen blending mode.